Okay, hello there. We're here to talk about planning your week with intention. Now, what does that mean? This is not just about time management. It's not just sort of a boring chat about, oh, yes, we should be blocking our time and we need to be doing our admin and we should be exercising and whatever else. The more and more time, I guess, I spend on this, the more I reflect on this, the more experience I've had in working my own business and with my clients, the more key, crucial, absolutely vital I realize this to be. It is incredibly powerful and yet so simple, and yet so many of us don't do it. So before I get ahead of myself, my name's Anna Lundberg. If you haven't come across me before, I help you design and build a business outside of the conventional 9 to 5. And this idea of being intentional with your week is so counter to how most of us, me included, live our lives. I wake up, great intentions, going to go for a run in the morning, but my young child comes in, wakes me up early, so oops, I've missed that window. Got to scramble to make breakfast, we're late, I can't find the library book, my daughter needs to be in her PE kit, off we go, already feeling a little bit frazzled to do school drop-off. I come home, I was going to record content, but my hair's a bit wet from the rain. I thought, oh, I've just got to check my emails. Before you know it, the whole day's gone, and I haven't done any of the things I had intended to do. I haven't done my exercise. I haven't taken a proper lunch break because I'm so frazzled and feeling behind already. And I haven't done, especially those new intentional activities that, let's be honest, hopefully are the ones that would, in fact, move the needle on my business, right? So we become very reactive to what life and family and illness and the world and business and so on throws at us. And we don't make progress on our big goals. It can be a big goal. I've shared many times, if you have been part of my community for a while, how I write my books. And some of you will know very closely that I would go to a cafe every Thursday morning. I'd sit down, no Wi-Fi, grab coffee and cake, and I would dedicate that time to working on my book. And do say hello if you are watching live, and we'll see if I can see the comments in a moment. We're talking about how to plan your week with intention. So if I want to write a book, I cannot just get up and sit down, or I've got a standing desk here, stand at my desk and just do emails and post on social media, blah, blah, blah. A project like a book needs to have dedicated time in my agenda. Likewise, though, if I want to make more money, I need more clients. What does that require? Well, it requires me to do more activities that are going to get me more clients. Another example I've shared many times is when I first started outsourcing to an assistant, essentially, who, isn't with me now anymore, but certainly was helpful at the start. And there were a few hurdles to get over, a few different assistants I tried initially, and I'm sure that'll change again in the future. And when I first handed over the task of scheduling my blog posts and setting up my emails, I can't even remember all the things we're doing. There were a few simple things, right? She took those off my plate. Suddenly, I wasn't doing anything. My week was empty. And I thought, oh, maybe that's why I'm not earning a lot of money, because I'm not actually doing business development tasks. I'm not having conversations with people. I'm not doing things that would lead to my business growing, to getting those additional clients. So if I want to have more clients, I need to be having those conversations with people, right? If I'm starting out, I first need to be building an audience, getting clear on my message, perhaps even before that, getting in front of the right people. If I want to build my personal brand and reach and so on, I need to be showing up on lives, on the right social media, perhaps LinkedIn, Instagram, collaborating with other people, getting myself in front of people. Another example that I've shared many times is wanting to be a writer. I shared the good side of my routine, I suppose, when I did manage to write a book, which was blocking time in my calendar to actually sit down and write the book. What had happened for many years before is I had said, I want to be a writer, but if you actually pulled up my calendar and looked, was there any time I was spending writing? Nope. So there's a disconnect between my dream over here, my big goal, and the actions I'm taking. So to bring all this full circle to the point of today, it's all very well to have a vision board, and I've got a whiteboard over there and a pin board over there and a calendar over there with all these big grand visions. If I'm not taking the actions every day, at least every week consistently, right? You can miss a day here and there, things are imperfect. I've had a couple of unhealthy weeks, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up entirely on nutrition and exercise and so on. We need to anchor those big visions in the day-to-day. So I wanted to walk you through my intentional week planner. And again, some of you will be familiar with my ideal week concept that I use a lot in my courses and my programs. Evolved it a little bit and also made it both simpler and more effective for today's session. It'll be a short one, sort of 15, 20 minutes max, I think. If you do want a copy of the planner, 2 pages with instructions and the ideal week, I'll show you to you in a moment, then just comment planner, and I'll ping that over to you as well in the messages, or if you give me your email, depending on where you're watching this and the platform, you can comment planner in the comments. So I hope I've sold to you why this is important. If you have a goal, then you need to be taking actions towards that goal. Simples. If I want to run a half marathon, I need to be running probably if I'm starting from 0, I need to do 0 to 5K, 5 to 10K, 10 to half marathon. That's what I've done in the past. Need to be ultimately running 3 or 4 times a week. I need a long run in there. That needs to be in my calendar. So let's pull up. In fact, I'll pull up right away so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's get fancy here. I'm going to move over here because that's how fancy I am. I'm moving over to the side of my desk, and I'll go back to the first one. So that's sort of the ideal week that some of you are familiar with. Revolutionary concept of 5 days in the week. There you go. So here you go. Lots and lots of text on there. So we'll see how helpful this is to show this to you. But let's start over here. And I can't show you, I don't have a pointer on this one. So number 1, key priorities, right? What is your number 1 business goal? In fact, I'm just going to remove that. And I'm just going to talk at you for a moment because I think there's too much reading. But if you want the planner, comment if you're watching the recording and I'll send it to you. And you can have it in your hand while I'm talking to you. So there you go. Key priorities is the first section. Why is that the first section? Well, if you don't know that you want to write a book, if you don't know that your top priority right now is to get more clients, get more income, if you don't know that you want to run a half marathon, or if that's getting lost, then you're not going to be able to achieve that goal. It's not going to get prioritized because you haven't made it clear that that is your priority, right? If you're not familiar with my philosophy of work-life integration, it's all around, first of all, seeing work and life as a whole, because work is a part of life. It's an important part, but is not separate, and it's not the most important part. So we need to look at an integrated version of our priorities. Because we're talking here about our business, my first question is still, what is your number 1 business goal? And if you're in my program, we'll be looking at sort of a long-term goal, an annual goal, quarterly goal, monthly, weekly, but let's just keep it super, super simple. What is your goal right now? Let's say at least for the next month, right? We're in October as I record this. We've got a few months left for the year. What is your goal now? Is it to get those clients, the cash flow, or is it rather about getting clarity on something? Is it about getting yourself out there, building your brand and visibility and so on? What is your business goal? Is it income? Is it visibility? Or is there some operational stuff you need to actually, I need to totally redo my website and so on. We don't want to get too much caught up in the behind the scenes, but it's possible that that is a priority for you, right? The accounting, the admin, the assistants, the systems, the structures and so on. So number 1, what is your business goal? Secondly, what else matters right now? Is it, you don't have to put obvious things like taking care of your children, like the day-to-day, laundry, house, whatever, but is there something happening in your life that is really important right now that is perhaps out of the ordinary? Because that's when we need to really emphasize it, right? If I'm also training for a half marathon, I'm not, by the way, because my hip hurts and that's another story, but if I'm also training for a half marathon, that should go on there. If you're also getting ready to move house, that should go on there. If you're packing for your holiday or whatever, right? Whatever else is going on right now in your life, rehearsals for this, or practicing for that, or preparing for whatever, that needs to go on there. Taking care of your aging aunt, mother, dog is going for an operation, who knows, right? There's a lot of things going on. Life is messy and there's a lot going on. So what else is important to you? That's question number 1. What are your key priorities? and you might want to grab a pen and paper, you can write this down, or again, you can comment planner and I'll send you a copy of this. So what are your key priorities? What's your number one business goal? Yes, we all need to do visibility and income and admin, etc. But right now, if you have the choice between spending the hour on going out and getting your name out there and posting and being visible and partnering with people and so on, or an hour to have conversations with people who you already know, who already trust you, and to have those warm conversations to get them to sales, where would you spend your time? Because that's what this is all about. It's about making choices. Then the second thing is pulling up your calendar, and hopefully it's digital, maybe it's paper, looking at how you spent your time last week, okay? So really auditing, is effectively, it sounds very serious, but it's really just looking at how you spent your time. Ideally, you can use a tracker. I've recommended in the past Toggl, Toggl. Haven't used it in a while, but I think it still exists. You literally set the timer for a week, every time, okay, now I'm going to go live, I'm going to time that, I'm going to do emails, going to time that, I'm going to go on Facebook, I'll time that. The immediate advantage of that is just tracking already makes you more efficient. So that's good news, because I don't really want to have the tracker know that I've been on Instagram for 3 hours. But the second aspect of this, the result is that you'll get a really accurate view. And you might think that you've been super productive and creating content, for 3 hours, but actually it was only 45 minutes. And then you went and got a cup of tea, then you did your laundry, then you did some emails and so on, right? And suddenly, as I recognized when I first outsourced my work, my admin, I realized, oops, I've been spending all my time on admin. None of this is actually going to get me any new clients or grow the business, right? So that's a really important realization. So audit your time. Either now, go forth and track for a week, or at least do it doesn't have to be super accurate, but go through your calendar last week. How many calls did you have with prospects? How much time were you actually delivering work? So in a coaching or workshop or whatever it is you do. And guesstimate, right? Get an idea of how much you're spending on everything. And specifically, how much time did you spend on that number one goal? So if your number one business goal was to write a book, how much time did you spend writing on that book? If your goal is to launch a podcast, how much time did you work towards that goal? If your goal is to get more clients, what activities did you do in your calendar? How much time did you dedicate to those sales activities, etc.? And then again, because we're talking life, not just business, what else was missing? Oh, I keep mentioning training for the half marathon, but it's not even about those big goals. It's about the mundane, ongoing things, right? Did I get my 10,000 steps? Did I go outside and enjoy the sunny weather? Was I present with my kids? Did I call my aging aunt, or whatever the example was I gave before? Have I been connecting with friends, family, and so on, right? So what was missing? What do you feel like at the end of last week? I cannot believe I spent all my time doing this and I didn't get a chance to do that. I cancelled my gym. I didn't go see my brother that I was meant to go see, or whatever it was. What didn't I not spend time enough on? That's very grammatically correct. Where did I not spend enough time, and what was missing from last week? And then, of course, we want to look at, okay, where do we want to spend our time? In particular, where do we want to increase our time and perhaps also decrease our time next week? So doing this exercise at the end of the week, perhaps on a Sunday, is great, because you can look back at the whole week and look ahead to the new week. If most of us have kind of a typical Monday to Friday, Monday to Sunday working routine still. And I'm including Saturday and Sunday, even if you don't work, because it's still important to block that time. Look ahead to think, okay, well, I need to spend more time on writing for the book. I want to spend more time on those sales activities. I want to spend more time on visibility, whatever it is, right? And I want to make sure that I'm getting the gym in, I'm getting the run, I'm going to see my brother, whatever else, right? What are those activities you want to make sure? So where do you want to spend your time, both for your number one goal and secondly, personally? Now, to pull up again just this calendar, where's it gone? I've got so many different screens. This one, it is just the week. But effectively, the idea of this sort of ideal week is that you look ahead, you imagine a blank week, and you really look at where would you block your time if you could. How would your ideal week go? Now, there is a version of this exercise. which is really dream world, right? It's a really interesting exercise. I saw someone share something similar on LinkedIn the other day, where they were talking as a recruiter. If you want to think about your ideal job, really map out how do you want to spend your time, and then you can compare that to a job description. I thought that was quite an interesting use of it. When I'm designing my ideal business, I can really look ahead and say, right, okay, I want to wake up, go for a walk on the beach, have breakfast with my partner, and then I want to do some writing in my lovely little reading nook for 2-3 hours. Then I'll have a lunch, and then I'll do client coaching calls, and then I'll finish early, and right? You can have the dream world version. Here, we're really talking about the reality, in the short term at least, right? So you don't have a blank calendar. But you almost want to pretend that it is blank. So again, ideally, there's no point in... The ideal is here within the parameters of my life. The reality is I have 2 children who do need to get to and from school at the basic, right? I have a partner who's very flexible and supportive, and we share as much as we can, but the reality is one of us is going to have to do certain things. So I can't, between 8 and 10, I'm going to say, and between 3 and 5, depending on the day, do my ideal sunning myself down by the beach, right? So that's the reality. But within the parameters of me being a mother and having a business, how will I ideally spend my time? I realized recently I don't need to do this for exercise anymore because it just comes so naturally, because I've fought so hard for this for a long time, but it can slip off the agenda. I want to run Monday morning, Wednesday morning, and Saturday morning, let's say. Excuse me. Tennis on Tuesday mornings, racquetball on Thursday, home gym, go to the gym, whatever, right? It sounds like a lot, and I am doing quite a lot, but it's now part of my routine. That is in there. That means that I don't do calls at those times. It means that I do that, and then, certainly if it's in the morning, I then do everything else afterwards, and so on. I'm putting in the exercise first. So if it's something new, like writing, more sales activities and things you haven't done before, that needs to go in first, right? If it's something, that's it. Put the big rocks in first would be the first principle. Then my scheduler where you book calls, I'm going into detail, but I think it's interesting, hopefully, to hear how this works in practice. You generally can't book calls with me in the morning. Now, if it was a client, if it was a really important thing in a time zone difference or whatever, I would absolutely plan that in. But generally, I want to own my mornings for exercise, for content creation, maybe writing, for thinking, for strategizing, for doing those top priority goals that will really move the needle. So if you're like me and most people, whether you're a morning person or not, the morning is the time that you have most control over your day. So I would generally, for most of us, recommend that we block the time in the morning to do those activities. I've worked with a sales expert, training expert, and she always says, her 10 before 10, I think it is. So you do 10 sales activities, talk to 10 people, 10 cold calls, 10 emails, whatever it is in her world, before anything else, right? So what is your 10 before 10? What is it you're going to do before everything else potentially gets out of control? You're going to block that time. And a few principles when you're doing that. So I shared one of them, right? So I'm going to look at my handy list here, so I tell you all my amazing principles. Number 1 is to put the big rocks first. If you're not familiar with that metaphor, it's from Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Imagine a jar. You put all the gravel and the sand and the rocks, meaning all emails and admin, excuse me, getting me of a dry throat, into the jar first, and then you try to put the big rocks, the really important things, chunky projects like a book, family, those kinds of things on top. There's no space. If you start again with an empty jar, you put the big rocks in first, the rest will kind of fall in. Like I keep saying, the book, the podcast, even things like the sales activities, the strategy, that stuff won't happen unless we block the time to do it. On the other hand, the laundry is going to get done because otherwise we don't have any clothes. I will eat, I will buy food, I will cook, I will pay the bills. That stuff gets done anyway. So we want to put the other stuff in first. I'm going to drink a litre of water before I start, if that's important to you as well. So put the big rocks first. The second thing is you may have heard of batching content. So batch similar tasks together. So I will record 3 or 4 podcast episodes, so a month of podcast episodes in one go, because I have the recording software. I know what I'm doing. Hey, Reimagining Success, episode 321. In this episode, I'm talking blah, blah, blah. Record the episode, chunk it, send it off, get it transcribed, etc., etc. Right? That's a really good use of my time, rather than doing what's called context switching, which is I'm doing one podcast, even worse, half a podcast. Then I'm going over here to do something for LinkedIn, got a client call, then I'm going to do some emails, then some accounting. That just doesn't work. So big chunk of time for strategy. A good hour or two on connecting on LinkedIn, a good hour or two working on content, obviously filming reels or videos, that kind of thing. I haven't actually brushed my hair so well after going to the gym this morning, but you've brushed your hair, makeup done, clothes, whatever, get the camera set up, and then that's a great way to get lots of videos done in a short space of time. The third one is to block time for breaks. To be honest, this one perhaps is more for corporate people. It depends how relaxed you are. But the problem is, if you have blank space in your calendar, and this is a piece of paper, if you imagine this is your real calendar, you'll just think, oh, I'm free then. And you'll end up doing something else. You'll fill it with something like just, scrolling on Instagram or something, or you'll allow someone else to infiltrate that time. And that's no good for anyone, right? So if you need to, and many of us do, block the time for lunch breaks, block a morning coffee, afternoon walk or whatever, right? That's really important. The next principle is to build in flexibility, because for as much as I'm all about non-negotiable boundaries, clear delineation, principles, exercise first, family first, all these things, the reality is we're flexible. I usually do ladies' morning tennis on a Tuesday morning. At the moment, I've got a workshop series with a corporate client, and it happens to be that those 3 webinars are on a Tuesday morning. So the last couple of weeks, I've missed a couple of Tuesdays. I'm going to miss next week. No bother, because it's a really interesting project. I'm earning money, that's okay. And I'll plan around it. Maybe I'll go to Friday tennis, or in fact on Tuesday I'm going to go to Pilates for the first time ever in the evening to get some flexibility going as well, So leave room for the unexpected. Probably plan more time than you think you need, but also be flexible about your boundaries if and when needed. And then finally, ironically, and I've already hinted at, it's the opposite. It's protecting your non-negotiables. Exercise, family, health, well-being, mental, whatever, is a non-negotiable. That doesn't mean that tennis on a Tuesday morning is a non-negotiable, but it is a non-negotiable for me to be present with my kids. So I make sure I don't book workshops and coaching things during sort of peak hours like bedtime and that kind of thing. And you need to be clear on what your non-negotiables are. If it's a time during the week, if it's a thing you absolutely won't do, that's really important. So those are the 5 principles. Put the big rocks first, batch similar tasks, block time for breaks, build in flexibility, and protect your non-negotiables. The final piece of this planning your intentional week, and then that's it, is to test and adjust. So I'm talking about the 1 week. I'm talking about planning your ideal week. Ideally, you do it, say, Sunday evening or Friday afternoon. Audit your past week, plan your next week, rinse and repeat. Okay, the whole point of this is never going to be perfect, but each week you can look ahead. You can say, oh, I've got this workshop on Tuesday. I won't be able to do tennis. Can I do Pilates in the evening instead? Can I do tennis on Friday? How can I shuffle things around? Or actually this week there's a school trip to this and that, or there's a party then, or a play date, or whatever in my case, how can I move things around? And importantly, again, coming back to the business piece, I wasn't able to do 3 hours of content in the morning. I couldn't do 5 back-to-back calls. That really drained me. So how can I plan it differently? More breaks, split it up in a different way. Okay. So here's the planner. If you just comment planner, I'll send it to you. If this is on YouTube, you'll need to give me your email address, so we'll see how that works. But certainly if you're on Facebook and, if you get this via email from me, then do just pay me a reply and ask for the planner. I'll send you this, a simple document with the questions I've asked, as well as then the ideal week planner, which of course you can then block into your existing planning software ideally. So your calendar, I use Apple iCal, or your physical calendar if you're old school. Oh, yeah, nice and sweaty here in the sun. It's a really nice day. So I might hang up on you, as it were, and go out and take a break, go for a walk. I've just done a bit of work. I've done my live, done my visibility, and now I'll go out and enjoy the sunshine, I think. So I hope you agree with me that this is important. If you are anything like many of us who are constantly racing after that thing and, oh my gosh, this got in the way and I'm just reacting, I'm just like trying to swat the balls back that people are throwing at me, take a breath, look at where things have gone wrong last week, plan those big rocks first, the non-negotiable boundaries, get more intentional about next week, and then again, check in, just keep adjusting, keep tweaking as you go. Hope that was useful. Again, comment planner and I'll send you a copy of this, and do let me know how you get on. See you next week. Bye for now.